I'm gonna have to work with this because I'm thinking it's something with the on me. Hey, S. Wiseman, I'm trying to get the camera on me, but it's hard to. This is an old. Well, maybe I'll have to turn it around like this for me. I don't know why it's acting like this. I was seeing them. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to fix the video. I don't know why it's going in and out here. I'm having difficulties today. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Can you still see me? I mean, can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Hmm. I don't know why I'm not. Up with this. No, Facebook. Okay, it should be fine. I didn't. Yeah, that's on there, but what about inviting people? I don't have that on there. Hey, Haru. How you doing, brother? Yeah, I'm trying to, I don't know, it's not letting me, but I'll go in and talk. And what I wanted to talk about today was getting a conversation, and I'm going to make a statement, and you tell me what you think about that statement. Okay. We are dealing with, when you are, when you become aware of your condition, in order for you to become aware of your condition, you have to be a people of greatness, a people of greatness who have been, because your greatness is a threat to others. Livelihood. You have been subjected to a condition where you no longer know of that greatness or know of yourself. You have been put through a time where you are nothing. You're put into a state of nothingness. And forced to take on the thoughts, ideas, world of another being. This other being would truly die if, you know what, I hate to start this all over, but it seems like I cannot, something's going on. So let me see if I can fix it. Let me do it like that. I may have to start all over because I hate to do this, but it's, all the stuff is acting up. Okay. Why is my computer acting like this? It's like, hold on, bear with me, people. Oh my gosh, this thing's acting up really bad. I think because maybe somebody then got into my stuff, you know. Come, is it public? Yeah, it's public, but concept on describe below. Why is it? Because the baby was throwing it. Bear with me. What is going on? Could not two computers work on it? Okay, I'm gonna put this on mobile. Put this one on mobile. Take it off Wi-Fi. Okay. Okay. There we go. Public. Alright. It is right. Bear with me, family. I'm be with you. I'm just trying to fix this. You still can't hear? Can everybody hear? Or is it still buffering? Can you hear me? Information man? Peace. My stuff is acting quirky. It is what it is. Oh God, really? Oh my God. I can't believe this. Let me see something. I'm gonna have to look at this. Look at my, make sure I'm on the right one. Sign in, it won't even let me, okay. Okay, add an account to, because I was on the wrong account for one thing. I was on the wrong account. Can you hear me? Because, y'all, you can hear me? I wish I could fix this camera, but it's... Let me see something. I'm going to try to go out again, because when I went out the first Facebook, yes. Okay, it says I'm live. Okay, we're going to have to just go with that still picture because it's not letting me. But I'm going to start talking in a minute. I'm just trying to fix my Facebook side. It's been acting up. It's kicking me out. Um, okay, that time I'm doing it. Okay, and then... All right, done with that, and then I'm gonna start that and see if it comes back fresher with. Okay, now the add people is in there because at first Facebook wasn't. It was acting up and it wasn't giving me the. I think we're headed into. I think it's the 28th is the time of what they call the Lazarus Rising. I haven't. I have. There's a video out. A guy did. I'll put that in my, I'll edit this video and I'll put it in the bottom of the description, his video. And he was talking about it. I need to watch it in depth. It's foolishly mastered or something like that, foolish. But that's the name of his channel. And I'm going to, because June the 28th, is another solar eclipse, and we just entered summer solstice Thursday, and what I do is I like to do rituals because I'm wanting our people to really be empowered. I want us to connect to, I want us to know our higher self. Once we know our higher self, all these, we can kind of battle the emotion, the mental things that we endure because our higher self will get us through all those things. And it'll also give us knowledge on what we are seeing in the physical and how it correlates into the spiritual world, and then the spiritual world kicks it back and manifests back at it the physical world, what it is doing to us, because we're connected. We are connected to the spiritual world, and therefore whatever affects us is because we are God's consciousness. You know, we're the consciousness of our higher self. We're pieces of God in each black man, black woman. But as I was saying is, no other person, no other group of being can come into this type of consciousness because they're not as connected to the planets as we are. We're stars, and they're not. Um, we're carbon beings. They're not of that makeup. And a lot of people I notice are confused on that. And it's a distraction to get carbon beings to want to subscribe to the lower level. And it's a way of uh, it's like the temptation story we've been taught. We've been taught the temptation story of yeah, I invited it as many as I can. Hey there, Will. Hey, Alicia. Hey, Lonnie. Um, they taught us the temptation story about how what they call the devil or Satan, and then the good angel you have over here. And it's like they're pulling for you. They both are pulling for you. Well, it's the same. That story was our story about how there's a group, and then we've taught about the demons that like to torture. And the same story. It's the same. It's prophetic because we are being tortured, but put through so much, and we don't. We've been asleep. We've been asleep and not realizing what type of condition we were in because we were born into this condition, and it was made to be normalized for us. So the spirit world wanted me to relay the importance and the understanding of what it means to be awoke and to be conscious. To be awoke and to be conscious is to be connected to your higher self, the God self within you. It's nothing to do with moralism or religion. It's more to do with coming into your true self and seeing the illusion around us and overcoming it, not falling to its temptations to die, because it's the soul within that's we don't want to lose the soul within, because when we lose the soul within, then that's a form of death in the physical only. But death in the spiritual, we want to definitely avoid that, because death in the spiritual is when the soul is lost to a lower, to the lower dimension. The soul is lost to the lower dimensions, and if we're stuck on the dimension, the third dimension down there, of course, is where we're suffering at now. So it's not necessarily when we can overcome it, because it's not about this physical beings that we project, that we see doing these things, because they are put there for that representation of that devil that is tempting us to be more like them, stuck in the 3D lockdown, because they're stuck in the 3D lockdown. And very easily, hey there, brother, they're stuck in the 3D lockdown and lower. So what they are afraid of is dying, because the only way they survive is through us. We can tell that through many, many movies that they put out subconsciously. These movies that they utilize, that they don't expect us to really grasp the symbolism within these movies, or see the symbolism around us in everything they do, and they have been doing lately. So what they what we become, when we become conscious, we become conscious to a condition, and no other people can become conscious to a condition except for the carbon-based black man and woman on the planet. Um, all others have been changed in a way, have pretty much, uh, the other beings that we see on the planet that are not kinky haired or black, or they have been taken from the natural state of the planet of being a star. They have been changed. So when the time comes, they will not be as well be seen as much as we are seen by the stars. Like the sun can see us, the sun can recognize us because of the solar system we have within us as well. We have the solar system within us. But to think about this, let me throw out this statement. A group of non-conscious beings who only can survive through surface means, which means physical means. That's the only way they can survive. If we're not making them feel good, if we're not doing things in their order, which is out of order for us, then we are not right for them. Who believe that a being can become transformed from an ape, but yet the ape is still an ape and a monkey is still a monkey, and theorize that they came from Africa, walked to the Ice Age where food was less available and sun less prominent. Now we got to think about that deeply. Where is the logic in that? Where is the and then on top of that, when you think about, when they talk about, we have to examine certain things, like when they came over and they started getting delusional, when they came to America and started calling everybody witches and killing off all the people. But yet, a lot of us want to subscribe to that as being some sort of greatness, some sort of form of greatness.
Where's the goggles?
Which, hold on for a second. You cold? You cold? Go back.
My goggles!
They want, we subscribe to that there's some kind of form of greatness and
Come
some
here,
kind of,
I'll give it to you if you come
and then
here.
on top of that, we think that we can't help but think, we got to realize that some of these words, most of these words are created words by the subjugator. Ooh, I burnt myself. Greetings, Captain PY2. Yeah, by the subjugator. And even though languages all come from the African diaspora, we created the language. So every language that is transformed has its foundation in the indigenous beings uh, created from nature based language. Because our language was created through nature. That's how they get the alphabets, the 26. That's how they get the 26 alphabets. That's how they get what they got, what we got. It's basically from Africa. I don't care what language on this planet it is, it derives from, it wouldn't get its built, it wouldn't been able to be built unless it was from the basis of our nature. Which, like people, they change. They change. Like people, they want to control, and they change things around. That's why when, as an English major, when people talk about proper English, I am like, there's no such thing as proper English. Because you got to look back not too long ago in their history, people did not speak the English we speak now. It evolved, it changed. So you got to deeply think about that and research and examine that. How did it change? Why did it change? You know. And because, once again, we did have the Moors, and we did have European blacks in Europe, many who were probably my ancestors, because I did trace my maiden last name back, and the spirit world told me that my last name did not come from Caucasians. One thing we got to get out of is, like I said, it's not about the Caucasian being, but we make so much about them as they would like us to do, and we make them real. We give validity to everything about them, which we should stop subscribing and stop trying to do that. And let's see. And try to be within the higher self and function within the spiritual world, as well as, because we're God conscious, we're the spiritual beings having a physical experience. So the spiritual has to guide us through that physical experience, and we gotta stop. We gotta stop giving rise to, or giving life to the physical beings, what their ideologies, their existence. And once that happens, and we come into ourselves through balance, and balance consists of truth, justice, and reciprocity. When we gain all of that, or work with all of that for ourselves, then we can, then, they can't live with that. It's the total opposite of what their existence is. They cannot live with that. Like I said, I've been told by a professor one time that she couldn't live without adversity. And I thought about that. It's kind of like a Caucasian saying, on Angel's channel about how he went to school and studied about African Americans, and he sympathized with us. It's similar to that. It's that mind, that thinking, that form of thinking. Because you cannot, that means you might be torturing us and saying I still sympathize, and that's a lunatic. That's someone who is seriously sick, because you can torture somebody and you can still sympathize with them. That means you ain't got nothing for that person, because they're just totally different, like an alien being or something totally different from you. And it's funny how we subscribe down to, we allow them to tell us that everybody needs to love everybody, and that who's a racist and who's not, and when to have peace, or when you get to have your rights, or this and that, and to call it human rights at that, and to label everything as if they created the planet, as if they were the architects of this whole existence. And but the little things they couldn't even handle, like when they came over to this country. When you deeply think about the stories of when they came over to this country, and how they didn't know how to they didn't know how to grow food, they didn't know how to do all that, because you got to think about Britain, and what Britain is, just a small tiny island, and you might as well say it could be like a prison island if you want, and that might have been what it was kind of like when they talk about, what these people were dealing with, and how they lived. But it's not anything like here, or anything like the continent of Africa. It's a small island, and the weather there wouldn't be enough to change your color over. So when I think about when they talk about the Ice Age, they got to realize the Ice Age wasn't just in one area. It would have been the whole planet. So you can't just say that people just went to a certain area, and this certain area just so happened to chose them to freeze them out of food and everything, and somehow their chemistry, the biological chemistry, got changed. I refuse to believe such crazy nonsense, especially the evolving from an ape or a monkey. That's just craziness. It's just because why did the evolution stop? And if it stopped, wouldn't it be the survival of the fittest? As is same thing we're seeing today, the survival of the fittest. Wouldn't apes and monkeys be extinct, no longer existing on this planet? Because if such beings were able to do that, then they would totally wipe out just as we see with the so-called, even though I don't believe in dinosaurs, as they tell us, I do know that we do see some animals that do resemble some of those old animals. those old dinosaurs that they could have came from. But dinosaurs no longer exist, but the animals that resemble them today that evolved do exist. So it just comes to when we come into our higher selves and our consciousness through the spiritual world, things we have a higher logic, higher intelligence, and we cannot subscribe down to this lower level any longer. We have to listen to ourselves and meditate and work around that, because that's what's going to get us through. That's going to be our weapon. That's our weapon. That is our weapon. And also, a lot of people are into spookism because, and once we let go and do the opposite of what they have taught and they have put out, the propaganda and the lies that they have put out, and we understand the book, the Bible, for what it is, then we realize we've been laid out a map on everything that it was to happen, and to us as a group of people. And warnings and so we can be guided through this maze that we're in. And but one important thing is to know that our energy is power, that our energy can make things happen, that we need to start and stop giving our energy over to their causes, their like feelings, emotions, all of that over. Stop doing that, because we empower the illusion around us. And if we just stop subscribing to the lower level of thinking, of being, because it's not getting us anywhere. It doesn't get us anywhere quick. It doesn't get us anywhere. But coming out of the nonsense, like, I don't even watch CNN. It's been a total turnoff. I might catch it every once in a blue moon, and I don't subscribe to Time. I don't subscribe to holidays. I try not to. I try to get cut off. It's like a rape, and the rape victim realizes that it was a rape, and they immediately want to shed off, go shower and shed off all the stuff and that the rapist has done to them. And it's kind of like the Killmonger and the Black Panther. If we see it as just one person fighting themselves, Killmonger, his higher self, Black Panther, he was so on the lower level that he didn't know how to function, because he didn't know that he had the powers to control the whole physical existence. He was so on the lower level of emotions, revenge, and power hungry, just like his illusion. He was working from the standpoint of his illusion. He was working with them, trying to be like them, evolving more like them and less like his Black Panther, his higher self. And his higher self knew how to maneuver through the physical. So he he could no longer exist. He could no longer exist because he needed to die so that he could work. He ended up dying and going with the ancestors. But he is, I would say, he in a sense is now one in a way with his Black Panther, but he's just not no longer in the physical form. And that's the way I see it. So when we're at our weakest, when we're giving validity, giving rise to more to the physical existence, their ideology and way of being, we want to, if we take on that, then it's definitely a weakness for us. It's death for us. It's being stuck and coming back and being stuck in this. I don't know about coming back because they're dying out. The demiurge is pretty much gone, because we see now, and I've seen videos talking about on the 20th that was just put out by Washington Paper that in 26 states Caucasians are not recreating themselves. They're actually dying out faster than it was expected. No, I did do a ritual on that. I did a ritual. When I did my ritual, I went to a Masonic statue of, all the statues are Masonic. They come from they're created by the Masonic order. I went to one of their statues of Martin Luther King, and it's very powerful because Martin Luther King, they built it in honor of him, and he knew that he put us in a burning house. But a lot of us have extinguishers. That's the good thing. A lot of us have extinguishers with us. We have knowledge of ourselves, and we can put out the fire around us with these extinguishers. But a lot of us don't realize or recognize that we're in a burning house. But because he realized that, and he knows everything now that he's over on the other side, the other dimension, he understands. So he has made energy in those areas that they gave to him, that they gave over to him, and they don't realize that. They put us to sleep and tell us that our witchcraft and stuff like that, but he has energize those areas. So Martin Luther King boulevards, um, um, monuments in all these different cities and states are very, very energized through Martin Luther King. And we can utilize them to do our rituals. And that's what I did. I utilized it to do my rituals. And I did this ritual was before Trump came into office, when Obama was still in office, because the spiritual world was telling me that this was it's going to be some stuff. So I went and did that. And then I was hoping that a lot of people would follow and do that, because but we did get a lot of statues taken down. A lot of statues were removed. And we got to realize these statues are being removed because of the energy that they created for us around them. Scriptures say, what can be against us if God is for us? So the whole thing is, that's the truth. Because we have to look at it is, what can they create against us? Absolutely nothing, because our higher self is always for us. It's pulling for us to do certain things that we don't sometimes want to do. Like, we don't want to come out of working for these people when we're being mistreated and we're out here working these jobs and stuff like that, because we feel like there's no other way of living. We fear losing our jobs. We fear all these things we should never fear, for one thing. First of all, we should never fear. And then a job at that once, earlier I just laid out the type of people, the kind of being they are, and how we give rise in energy and power, and they manifest that to physical paper money, which they further put invisible shackles around us. Hey, Vance. Invisible shackles around us. And we as a whole, we subscribe to that instead of us trying to go and just do our own thing. And because we're not a people, we're on the level of, the lowest level is of survival. That's why I put out about, and I try to insist people to look at Dr. Sebi, Dr. Africa, because we've taken on another people's complex difficulty of survival. They have a difficult surviving. They have a difficult time surviving. So we've taken on everything. We've taken on their way of being. We say survival is hard, and survival is not hard for us. Although over the time while we were asleep, they made it hard. But they've made it very, very hard, because they've changed our eating habits and made us want certain foods to taste certain ways, and it's have to be made has to be created in a factory, and animal dependent. they have pretty much, I came into realization that they have recreated us over here in America. Black people, they have recreated us over here. And, but we can't just let that be like that. We have to get back and listen to our higher selves and become that higher self. And get out of being dependent on an animal for food and depend on our higher self for food. And what that means is our higher self is at its height when we're eating the things we need to eat that is works along with our biochemistry, our bodies. And when we I don't know why it's doing that. A lot of my things are not on here because sometimes it. But when we get back into eating the healthy things we need to eat for our bodies and supplying our bodies with gold, copper, magnesium, all these things that are needed for us to reach our heightened selves again, because the time is coming around. And that's what being awakened is, recognizing our condition and seeing the beings for what they are doing and who they're doing it to and why they're doing it, not necessarily subscribing to the level of their being or being emotional about things that they do, because it totally means something different for us as spiritual beings. We got to be able to understand things from a spiritual connotation, understanding, and not looking. You can't work from the outside to the spiritual. You can't work from the physical to the spiritual. You can't do that. Because we're connected, we work with our spiritual to the physical. That's how we have to do it. And starting to listen to what they're telling us when they're telling us things, and to do things that they're telling us to do, and go where they tell us to go, and not subscribing or caring about what the things that we have learned in the physical world, because we have been, like I said, raped. We have been raped, and it's not going to ever be recognized as such. The things that we've been through is never going to be recognized as such. They're going to keep throwing the Me Too movement, all these other things in front. Sexuality, identity crisis, when we all, it's evident that a man and a woman created us, so we have to be that balance. It's evident. It's evident. So when you see somebody going off from that, chances are they're not black beings, because the black beings naturally have that balance. We naturally have that balance, our mom and our father within us. I loved working with that when I was growing up. I was able to be like my father and be like my mother, but and have that balance. I was like my mother regardless of whether I wanted to be, but I was able to grab a hold of being like my father in many ways, and became that balance. That's what black people. That's what we, our nature. That's our essence. But the other beings, they're all out of whack because they're not of that. So they can influence us unnaturally to take on their ways. That's what I mean by the devil and God, the temptation, and we're in between it, being pulled over to this side more, an unbalanced side. That's all it's saying. We're just being pulled out of balance. So we're pulled out of balance, and that's why we see a lot of our black men doing what they're doing, especially when they indulged in relationships with the females who have a higher male hormone, and it's kind of like the, I want to say mermaid thing, but it's not necessarily a mermaid thing. It's kind of like more like in a lot of movies we watch, they do show where the devil can turn into a female and then trick the hero into relations, and then he's pulling the energy from that hero. It was purposely done to distract or to change and some weaken the hero, and that's what usually we've seen it in many of those what do you call those movies? Sorcery movies. Sorcery is we see it, and he's telling us exactly that's what's happening, and it changes our men over to wanting to be with each other more, and but like I said, we have free will, so we're in the middle, and we can choose to follow the physical or just be the higher self. We can follow the false illusion of a devil because it doesn't exist. It's just it doesn't exist in the context that we've been taught, but we do see a representation in the physical. And I'm just saying that's what consciousness is. It's not becoming consciousness and fighting each other, disagreeing with each other. Because if you're working with your higher self, you don't have that. You have more like other higher selves coming together. Once you work on your higher self, you can come as a whole, as a holistic. Because we are the stars, and the stars that we're born under. Like I said about careers in my other video on Facebook, and I don't think I talked about it much on YouTube, but careers come from the stars that we're born under. And creation of who we are tells us who we are. We come equipped with all that through astrology. And astrology is the way we tell, because we're not just dealing with one, just the star that we're born under. We're dealing with many other stars that we're trying to balance ourselves out with. That's what I'm trying to say. And You have
Mama,
fun?
I'm sick, Mama.
You sick?
No, her because she went underwater and the water got everywhere.
Oh, okay. But
Let's go back out.
anyone have anything to say?
Bye.
About that? Mm. So I'll probably just wrap it up, but that's what I pretty much wanted to talk about was consciousness, being aware of our higher selves. The only way you can be aware of your higher self if you have a higher self and you know you're from a higher dimension, but that's what the fallen angels was about. We know that we're from a higher dimension, but we fell into a lower dimension where we've been cut off from who we really are and what we really are. And we have subscribed to being humans, which I know a lot of people probably have an issue with that, but once you come out of that, wanting to be just a human being that is a person that does not have no guidance. They have to create a guidance, and then the guidance that they create is out of whack. It's not balanced. It's unbalanced because everything's going to be unbalanced with them. When you're created and you have to create, it's always going to be out of balance. So the good thing about us is we're not absolutely, I wouldn't say created. I don't subscribe to the Adam and Eve story as being connected to us. I think it's more connected to them because we were here way before that, and we've been here. Our ancestors are what they call the Anunnakis, because we are interdimensional beings, which means we can go on different dimensions. But the dimensions that we want to be on is the fifth dimension, the higher dimension. So we have to, subscribe to higher for ourselves and stop giving rise to this 3D lockdown that we're enduring now. And as they would like, because we make them feel real. We make them real. We feed them, like I said, instead of us, because when you come back into your higher self, you start creating. You automatically start creating. I had so much energy of creation just popped into me when I put behind me the career in the military and started fast forwarding to I wanted to do this, do that, and be creative and to create instead of just, I never wanted to be the one to be underneath and just the dread of the day, same old thing over again, to function and make someone else have abundance in life. Or to, you see, I had met an Angolan man the other day, and he was a soldier in the military. And he actually was training here with our military. Him and some other guys that were from Black diaspora. So when Trump was talking about he needed a star force or whatever force he's talking about, um, I thought, well, why, the spirit world delivered over to me these guys that were black, but they were training with our military. And we know, of course, they're in Nigeria training with our military. So that says a lot in itself, family. That it's more to it than what we think we see on the surface, what they tell us. So he'll tell us that now, but all along they've been already have the force that they want to go against us, which is our own people, which will never happen. Which will never happen like that. Because, what happened in Nigeria to them. So, in the physical world, when they were trying to do that. So, we definitely can't work from the physical. We got to come from the spiritual. And that's the way it's going to work. We do our voodoo, our hoodoo, which can never be used against. The Bible even says you cannot use it against our own people. We can't use it against ourselves, our own people. Because let me tell you, when you use our spirituality against each other, we are just aiding and abetting the real force we're trying to fight against, because we are weakening ourselves. You weaken yourself by doing that, because we're connected, so it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't have no kind of logic. That's why I say we subscribe too much to the thinking of the third dimensional beings, which aren't even really third dimensional beings, because they're not even seen on this dimension by the stars. They can't even be seen on this dimension. They don't exist. So they don't exist here, they don't exist in the spiritual world, because they're not seen by the spiritual world, so they don't exist. They only exist because we can only see them in our light, where we're standing, or from our standing viewpoint. Just like the illusion of the sun being yellow. Same thing. We look up and we see the illusion that the sun looks yellow, but it's not. It's a black sun, and the light that we're in over this planet is giving us the illusion of thinking that we see things, but we're not seeing it the way we see it. What seems real here isn't real. So, because if it was real, we gotta look at it like this. What is realness to us? Do a true love really leave and walk out of our life? Do our family members, when they pass, do we really think that they leave? But that's not real. You see, that's an illusion. So those things don't really happen. When you have a soul mate, a soul connect, they don't really leave you. They leave us in this existence, but it's not a real leaving. It's not real. Because we know that we're infinity. So we know that there is not no end for us. So the illusion tells us there's an end, but it's not really an end. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's not really an end. It's just, that's how you know that this is not real. This, when people have to, are killed or dead, and they go on, they're here for a short period of time. We're here for a short period of time, then this is not real. That's how we know it's not real. So I'm hoping that I was relaying some sort of message to my people. And with that said, I'm going to end it with true love, real peace, and the higher self within our soul. And until next time, family, this does it for my rendition of Saturday Deep Thought. Because I'm going to go live at the beach, one of the beaches, and we're going to do my rendition of Nightcrawler's Night Sky Watch. So please tune in to me. I don't know if I'm going to be doing Facebook. I might do YouTube and Facebook Live at the same time, because I do have 2 iPads. I'm just going to charge them up. I'm going to meditate and go into deep sleep for a while today, and then later on come back on and do it. So please join me, family, for that. And with that said, love, peace, and soul. Till next time.